Hello everyone, Turtlelagz here, bringing you another AFK journey video. I went over the drill runs live yesterday, but I decided to refilm it because after revisiting the footage I realized that there were some things I overlooked, and also I wanted to have like 3 very nice copy-paste teams for you guys to use. So basically the structure of this video will be as follows. First, we will go over the pathing of the drill run Secluded Island, which I think is my most favorite drill run to date. We'll go over pathing first. Second, we'll go over the kit of the different mobs, as well as Shadow Mirael, Shadow Salazer, and Dethanial in the middle here. Then third, we'll go over the teams. And there's a lot of different teams that will be available. If you guys want more ideas, like let's say you don't have a Lenia, or let's say your Parisa is not fully built, then you can hop onto my Discord server where we share a lot of ideas. And I am pretty sure that even if you are missing some heroes, you'll be able to find some useful team formations as suggested by either myself or by other folks. So without further ado, let's begin. You'll probably notice when clicking on this video that there was a very information-loaded thumbnail. I will have a larger, higher res version of the thumbnail pinned in the drill runs text channel of my Discord. If you want to check that out, download it and use it for your guild. But essentially it will be as follows. If you're following along the thumbnail, essentially you're going to have 3 different fortresses to plop your team members in. There will be Fortress 1, Fortress 2, Fortress 3, or as I designated, Fortress 1A, 1B, and 1C. And one thing I do want to emphasize is that Fortress 1C, you can put 11 members, whereas the other 2 fortresses you can put 10. So that is kind of a hint by the devs that if you know what the optimal pathing is, you should probably max out all 11 camp members on this bottom fortress. And the reason being is that the 1C team, the people who enter this fortress, will immediately start pathing to the very critical moments up straight, basically straight up. Whereas teams 1A and 1B, your initial objective actually is to meet up with team 1C. And the reason for that is because you want to grab the 3 buffs, buff 1, so this is what I'm talking about, buff 1 energy flow, buff 2 moment of glory, and buff 3 spell mastery as soon as possible. And some of you guys may be wondering, oh Turtle, why don't we just like path this way to grab that 3rd buff? Well, the reason is because you actually, if you are able to connect the dots together, basically you have 1A path, the red path down here, 5 attacks, take out this turret, 5 attacks, connect with 1C. Same thing, team 1B, 5 attacks, hit this turret, 5 attacks, connect with 1C. Then you can quickly, in the span of 10 pathing attacks on each side, as well as taking down 1 medium-sized turret on each side, have all 30 guild members pathing exactly the same way, just working together as one single unit, which I think is more optimal. And that's actually what I did on the Pioneer server with my guild mates in Analytica. Alright, so once you connect, right, 1A will have reached here, 1B will have reached here, 1C will be around like here, or maybe working on the first buff turret. Then after you pick up this turret, or this buff, all 30 guild members are going to do 10 attacks pathing to this turret here, take that out, and the reason you're taking that out is now we're going to path down this way to grab the 2nd buff. So once you've grabbed the 2nd buff, you want to ignore everything else. From this turret, go straight up and take down this 3rd turret, buff turret. And then at that point, then you'll have all 3 buffs. And then once you have all 3 buffs, the next optimal thing to do, if you're sweaty, is to take out the 3 remaining turrets, right? Because you want to show the other guilds what's up. You want to always be ahead in terms of your turrets, that way it looks good, right? We all know it, all that matters is Dethanial damage, but in the interim you still want to be kicking ass every second of the day. So essentially what you're going to do next is after you grab that 3rd buff, then from this turret you're going to take down remaining turret number 1, path, remaining turret number 2, path, remaining turret number 3. So once you take down the 3 remaining turrets, then you'll have whatever maximum turrets up until now, and then you will want to start pathing this way and this way to take on Shadow Mirael and Shadow Salazer. It doesn't really matter which direction you go with. On the Pioneer server, we pathed towards Shadow Mirael because we were kind of scared of Shadow Salazer because of his stuns, but we later found out that it actually didn't matter. He was actually pretty easy as well. I did the first hit, and I think I took out more than half his HP in one attack. So essentially what you want to do is you just do 10 attacks here, start attacking Shadow Mirael, and while your heavy hitters are hitting Shadow Mirael, your weaker quote-unquote guildmates or pathing guildmates, whatever you want to call them, are going to start pathing here, and that way you have access to Shadow Salazer. Now, one thing I do want to emphasize is that, you know, it's important to have fun. So, you know, the optimal pathing or way to coordinate attacks is that your whales are the ones hitting all the bosses, and whoever is not a whale are doing the pathing. But you do want, I mean, inevitably every single guild member wants to at least fight Shadow Salazer once, Shadow Mirael once. So what I do recommend as a compromise is to, you know, every single guildmate will have 3 teams, right? There's one team that obviously is going to score way higher than the other 2 teams. So you can ask all 30 of your guildmates, hey, throw your strongest team against Shadow Mirael, against Shadow Salazer, but save your 2 weaker teams to do the pathing. I would say the compromise is there, and then just have your whales save all 3 attacks on the bosses there. Okay, so once you take out Shadow Mirael, Shadow Salazer, at this point then it's just connecting the remaining dots, you know, because in order to get access to Dethanial, the final boss, you do need to clear 100% of the map. As you see here, we've cleared 0% of the map. So once you've lit up all the remaining paths, then you'll fight Dethanial. Once you defeat Dethanial, then it starts all over again. And when you start all over again the second time, pathing is not as important. However, I do highly recommend you just stick with the exact same pathing. The most important step is to connect the dots. And, you know, when I was on the Pioneer server with the Analytica guild, I think we did try other pathing, but my gut feeling is that the pathing I just described to you at the start of this video will still be the optimal pathing, even though technically you already have the buffs. So, you know, pathing is less lenient, or is more lenient, I should say. But just, you know, if you just rinse and repeat the exact same pathing every single time, then it'll be second nature, and you don't need to review like a screenshot in order to see where you should go. Alright, so now that we've talked about pathing, let's talk about the individual mobs. I do want to start off with the mini bosses and the big boss, just because that's more important. So starting off with Mirael. So Mirael, she's very straightforward. You know, burns an enemy, deals continuous damage, shoots a fireball at the target causing damage in a small area, casts a flame to deal damage to enemies in a path, continues to burn the area along the way. This is kind of like, what's his face? Necro Dragon. This is kind of like Necro Dragon, where she will burn a certain area, right, at the enemies. I don't know if she targets specifically the area with the most mobs, but essentially, you know, she can burn an area, she can do, you know, AoE damage. I mean, essentially her entire kit is AoE damage. But the nice thing is that this Mirael does not have any crowd control to my knowledge, which means that you can, if you wanted, like let's say you don't have a Ludovic, or let's say you don't have, you know, I don't know, let's say Smokey is like one of your 3 healers, then you would use a Smokey team against Mirael, because Salazer and Dethanial, they have crowd controlling capabilities, which will crowd control your Smokey and make your team die earlier, especially against Dethanial. So anyway, Shadow Mirael, you could arguably, you know, toss in, you know, any sort of team and have success. With Salazer, it's a little bit different because his middle ability, yeah, deals massive damage to an enemy who has dealt the most damage, makes them unable to move or act. Actually, because of this, you know, it's just a DPS. You know, he crowd controls 1 DPS. It doesn't crowd control your healer, so I guess that's kind of a good thing. So you could theoretically, you know, throw a Smokey team against Salazer if you wanted to. And then the other teams, yeah, just enemies within a certain radius, summons flying swords to deal damage to an enemy. I think the most impactful one is the Spirit Shackles, where he does massive damage to an enemy who has dealt the most damage. So I would say that this time around with this drill run, the nice thing is that you're not limited as much with the team building, because in the previous drill run, in the previous drill run, you had, you know, enemies that dodged physical attacks, enemies that, you know, had physical defense, physical attack mitigation. Here, none of that BS, so you can pretty much craft whatever team you want. I will have recommendations after going over everyone's kit. So, for Dethanial, if you want footage of my fight against Dethanial, you can watch my Sinbad video that not many people watched, and midway through I did test a Sinbad team against Dethanial. That's if you want to see his actual attack moveset, and drill runs hasn't started yet. So the way Dethanial works is that over the course of the battle, he will summon Mistlings. Mistlings, if you guys remember from AFK stage pushing, Mistlings are those circular guys with the big arms that spin and don't take any damage when they spin. Those annoying guys. So those are the Mistlings that he summons. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Mistlings are the shadows. I'm sorry. It's the... What was it? Summons a servant to imitate each Dethanial. Oh, okay. 2 Mistlings and a servant. So 2 Mistlings are what I just described. The servant, I think there is a shadow copy. Oh, okay. Every time Dethanial defeats one of your allies, a servant will appear. I think that's how it goes. I think that I ran a Smoky team against Dethanial, had Smoky crowd controlled. I lost 2 heroes, and then 2 servants appeared. You can check my Sinbad video for the footage. I think I had something like that. Now, Enchanted Fog charms the enemy who deals the most cumulative damage. So Charm, you'll probably need to refer to my Sinbad video. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly what Charm did. It's a brand new mechanic. If memory serves me right, I remember now. Charms the enemy. When he charms one of your allies is going to attack another of your teammates. It's basically, he will turn one of your allies against you. But that ally, from my understanding, will only do normal attacks. But I think their damage might be buffed. Unfortunately, I can't enter the map and tell you 100%, but if you look at my Sinbad video, the information's there. Okay, Corrosive Miasma creates a miasma when a battle starts, making himself immune to all types of damage while he is in the miasma. So what the miasma looks like is it will be like a purple fog that just envelops the entire map. And you'll see the green immune pop up again and again over his character model when you're attacking him during this miasma state. It's kind of like Crystal Beetle. And then finally, the ultimate immobilizes and damages an enemy over time, follow up with an attack that causes massive damage. And this is where heroes like Smoky or heroes like Talene, any heroes that are easily crowd controlled, will be interrupted. I would say the most impacted ally that's meta defining would be Smoky, and for this reason the teams that I suggest for you today will not run Smoky unless you absolutely have to, just because him being crowd controlled can actually cause your team to wipe. That's what happened to me on Pioneer server. So continuing onwards, now that we've talked about the 3 bosses, let's go ahead and talk about the grunts and the overgrown paths next. So these guys, to my knowledge, I don't think had anything crazy. So, you know, this marksman throws a bottle that does AoE, explodes, blah-de-blah, ignites them, ignited. So it's like a debuff that does damage. It's a dot. He does AoE damage and applies a fiery dot on you. So you damage over time debuff. And then, you know, he cleans the gun to increase attack speed, and then he has the ability to steal energy from the nearest enemy, keeps it as a tip. Alright. And then here's another grunt. Yeah, consecutive attacks, nothing special, boosts his attack speed, hits the nearest enemy, okay, and then you got this guy. Ooh, he reduces the furthest and nearest enemy's haste by 15 with that attack. Yeah, dealing damage to the two nearest enemies. Takes 25% less magic damage, becomes unaffected, so he can't be crowd controlled. Deals 80% magic damage to enemies who attempted to inflict crowd control effects. So this guy punishes you for doing crowd control. He's kind of like a Reese. I wouldn't say punishes you, but he is somewhat resistant to crowd control teams, but you will still run an Aaron team against this defensive lineup still. But, you know, he just will maybe cause you a little bit of grief if you're not running a healer. Okay, so that's that overgrown path. And same thing on the bottom right. It looks like these are exactly the same. And looks... Ooh, okay, so this is a little bit different. So creates a venomous area. So spits venom at the most crowded area, dealing X amount of damage, reducing their physical defense by 20% for 3 seconds. And then, ooh, he has the ability to pull the target 2 tiles forward. So you can pull one of your enemies towards you. That's the clam. Here's another slime. Instantly causes an explosion upon defeat. Generates a sludge pool. Anyone within the sludge pool, takes dot damage, loses magic defense. Yeah, so interesting. This team is not exactly synergistic. There's some physical attackers, some magic attackers, and so the physical and magic defense shreds will benefit some part of the team. Okay, and then he has the ability to reduce your attack speed. And then finally, the rats here. So he can summon more rats, I guess. Oh, or I guess rats will come at you, dealing damage 4 times. Okay, and he has the ability to jump to a safe area while attacking, and continues attacking when surrounded by 2 or more enemies. Okay, so he has that ability to dodge you. So crowd control teams will be especially nice against the giant rat if you're trying to AoE everyone down. Okay, and then there's the small fry. So these here sings a requiem, charming 3 nearest enemies, reducing their energy. Okay, this is actually kind of impactful. So, remember what I said about charming earlier, where the enemy causes your ally to hit your other allies. So here, the dark creature will actually charm 3 of your allies. Okay, yeah, charmed units attack their own allies. Okay, so I'm correct. So that's charming. That's a new mechanic, and there's 2 of them. So crowd controlling these guys will be especially important because you don't want to be charmed, right? Make sure you bring a healer. Fires a magic arrow, blah-de-blah, explodes, attack others, blah-de-blah. Okay, and then, yeah, gains attack speed, deals a ton of damage to the frontal enemies within a 1-tile arc. 3,500, that seems like a lot. Yeah, now, in theory, these are really cool effects, but, I mean, if you bring the right team, you should have no problems. Deals, yeah, okay, blah. Okay, and then... Oh, okay, the frenzied state. Yeah, so this is only 8 seconds that this happens with the really omega 3,500% attack damage. Okay, so that is that. So now let's go ahead and go over to the teams, which I will overlay on the screen before you. And so, actually, I'll go ahead and overlay all 3 teams. So the idea starting with the top, basically the teams on the right are more like AoE teams. But the top right is also a bossing team. And then the one on the left is like a bossing team. Now, I have this as a package, right? Because none of the 15 heroes overlap. So if you own all of these heroes, just jam all of them. I would actually start with the, because you only can put down 10 teammates to begin with. You could do one of 2 things. If you're on pathing duty, you can just initially put the Aaron team, and then do the trick where after you exhaust their stamina while pathing, then you rotate them out with the allies on the top, like the Tulin team, and that way they get 0 stamina, but they're in your crew now, and then you just bring back the Aaron comp. That way you can path more with that team. Although the top team, the Tulin team, actually paths pretty well itself. I've done it before, so you could just make your life easier. Just plop all 10 heroes on the Aaron team and the Tulin team, and just start pathing right away. And then once you unlock enough turrets in order to put down the remaining 5 heroes, then you can put the team on your right, on your left, the Lenya team. Now, just going over the thought process behind this team, these 3 teams might be a little bit different from what's recommended by Analytica. These are the teams that I built for myself, what I believe will perform the best, what's within my comfort level. Basically, the bottom right team is essentially an Aaron, Haywin, Arden, Lily May, Parisa. It is a combination of AoE plus a little bit of bossing potential in the form of Parisa and Lily May. You could swap Parisa with, say, like a Carolina, or say like, I don't know, a Laika, if you want to continue the bossing theme. Carolina is great because, she also applies magic defense shred, so she will still help Lily May's damage output. The reason I have Lily May positioned on the bottom left is because, remember, faction talents are available. You will have the Wilder faction talent, which means that Lily May on that glowing tile will have an increased, I think it's like 55% or 55 additional attack speed, as well as her doing, like, I forget if it was like, I should have read up on it. Anyways, it's a very good glowy tile. Lily May's the best beneficiary of it. And then you're going to run the Resonator spell, because the way the Resonator spell works is that whoever is in the rearmost will have energy gained. Like, Lily May will gain energy every time someone ults. And then I think she also does true damage. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. I apologize if I'm mistaken, but I think that's how it goes. Lily May gets more energy every time someone ults, and she can also do true damage. Okay, and then kind of going over how the Talene team works. The idea is Cassidy is blessing Talene, Rainier's dynamic balancing Talene, and also is really nice here, also has incredible synergy with Cassidy, because when Cassidy does the blessing of tidal strength, and assuming that, you know, she does, like, everyone gets caught in the blessing of tidal strength, everyone will be able to do additional, Cassidy to do additional follow-up damage every time they do a normal attack. And because Ulsa attacks so fast, so it causes Cassidy to do insane amounts of damage. And then rounding out the team is Ludovic, who is a very reliable healer. He will make sure that Talene is always topped up on HP. That way she can ult for days. Okay, so now the team that people are probably least familiar with, if you haven't played in the Pioneer server, that's the Lenya team. Now this team on the left is, I have to give credit to In Season, or whoever on the Pioneer server and Analytica guild cooked up, because this one I basically took the blueprint and kind of modified it for my uses. So the idea is that you do trigger the Mauler faction talent, which will provide the hero where Lenya is positioned certain buffs. I think Lenya gains a shield, and she also ends up doing more damage in some way. I'm sorry, I don't have all the faction talents 100% memorized, but yeah, Lenya on the glowy tile, Kruger for the 40% physical defense shred to boost Lenya's damage, Shakir to Lupine Aura, provide everyone with some damage mitigation and haste, and Mikola providing haste, attack percent, that's like, and also some heals. And then Odie is incredibly flex. Odie, you can theoretically run Reese, because he's a physical crit DPS, but I personally only have Reese EX5, whereas my Odie's EX20, so even though Odie's a magic damage dealer who does not benefit from Kruger, I still think Odie's the better choice. If you don't have Lenya, that's fine, you can put Odie in that slot, swap to the Resonator spell, and then as your 5th hero you can run a Reese or a Seth, because Seth is also a crit DPS from what I understand. Well, I don't know about crit, but he's also hard hitting DPS that can put up reasonable numbers as well. Yeah, and that's pretty much it, guys. I want to keep this video short and sweet. Thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, if there's any updates to what I've just told you, I will post in the pinned comments below or in my Discord server, so be sure to click the Discord link on the comments or the description section below. I do live stream most days on twitch.tv/Turtlelagz on the daily reset. So if you want to see me actually battle the drill run live, you can actually catch me there. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, guys.